Hello everyone. I decided to make this very short, very brief lesson on describing the equation of the parabola. After we looked at all the transformations of the parabola, we can say that the parabola can be described by the equation y equals a coefficient a. We can subtract something from x inside the bracket, so x minus h we said, and then square it. And then we can also add a number at the end of the equation. So this equation, as a matter of fact, it's a very famous equation. And it is called the vertex form of a quadratic relation. Now, there is a reason why this is called a vertex form. It's because it gives us the vertex of the parabola just by looking at the equation or by inspecting the equation, not just by looking. So, how do we, or what do all these coefficients mean? Now, remember that when we started with quadratic relations, we just graphed x to the power of 2. Then we learned how to multiply by a, x squared. We learned how to add a number, and so the transformations, and how to subtract a number here. So the coefficient a makes the parabola taller or shorter. And not only that, but the coefficient a can make the parabola open up or down. So to describe this in a more visual way, I decided to make a chart. And on this chart, I simply draw a number line that represents the possible values of a. And I say that a equals 0 makes no sense. The reason why is because if a equals 0, there will be no parabola at all. If a equals 1, then, or a equals negative 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, here. So if a equals either 1 or negative 1, the shape of the parabola hasn't changed. But if the a values exceed 1 or are less than negative 1, the parabola undergoes what we call a vertical expansion. So they become taller. Now, if the a values are between negative 1 and positive 1, such as 1/2, 1/3, negative half, negative third, and so on, then the parabola undergoes what we call a vertical compression. And the parabola becomes shorter. There is another thing we need to mention here, which is the positive and negative values of a. So when the a values are positive, the parabola will open up. And if the a values are negative, the parabola will open down. And in this case, the parabola would look like this. Here would look like this, so like a frowny, like a smiley for positive, like a frowny for the negatives. It will have a maximum when a is negative, a minimum when a is positive, okay? So another important thing we need to mention about a is that a is very important in determining the step pattern of the parabola. So the step pattern of a parabola will always be 1a, 3a, 5a, and so on. So you have to multiply the basic pattern by the coefficient a. The next very important coefficient is the coefficient k. The coefficient k describes the vertical translation. And here we go. Just like with A, I'm going to make a number line here. And this number line represents all the possible values of K. It's the easiest coefficient to interpret because if K is positive, the parabola will move vertically. We call this vertical translation up, K units. And if K is negative, that will be, or it will cause the parabola to move vertically or to translate down. Okay? So the last coefficient is the coefficient H. Let's go orange for H. The coefficient H is right here. And the coefficient H represents the horizontal translation. Okay? So H horizontal, right? I just noticed this actually. Can't believe. So if H is 0, there will be no translations. But if H is positive, there will be a horizontal translation to the right. I can kind of see the point why they actually came up with the idea of making H positive or negative, because positive to the right and to the left. And H negative is horizontal translation to the left. So what do they look like? Because remember that it was a bit confusing with H. So if H is positive, the equation of a parabola with a positive H will look like this. That means that H is positive 5. That means that parabola will move 5 to the right. Now, if we have an equation such as x plus 5 squared, that means that in this case, we have x minus negative 5 because there is a minus in the formula. This minus here, this minus the blue one right here. So that blue minus, I'm going to make it blue actually, just like in the equation. And that's how we discover that H is negative in here. We're going to say that in this case, H is negative. So that's all we need to know about the coefficients. And to draw the graph of any parabola, all we have to do all the time is identify the vertex and the step pattern. Once you have the vertex, which is nothing but the horizontal and the vertical translation, or in other words, the ordered pair H and K, from the vertex, you apply the step pattern, which is 1A, 3A, 5A, and so on. And you're done. That's it. So that's all you need to know about drawing the graph of a parabola. Okay? I hope this made sense, and I hope this helped you understand the graphs of quadratic relations.